All right, Raiders fans, let's get into it because there is so much swirling around this team right now, and it feels like every single week the drama just keeps building. The last game was a grind, one of those battles where neither side could find a real rhythm. And once again, the conversation circled back to the offensive line and how predictable this unit has been. You watch the Raiders line up, and you see the same pistol formations, the same zone looks, and after a while, defenses know exactly what's coming. It has left fans shaking their heads because this isn't just about poor blocking. It is about being too vanilla with the scheme. People are calling for more blitz packages on defense, more variety on offense, and honestly, it is tough to argue against that. When the coaching staff talks like they're still trying to figure out who this roster is, it gets frustrating because this staff wasn't hired a few weeks ago. They have been here, and they should know their personnel by now. And of course, the name that keeps coming up is Jackson Powers-Johnson. Everyone wants to know what the future holds for JPJ, and whether he's going to be part of this team long-term or whether he's destined to be shipped elsewhere. If you ask me, the player who feels more likely to be moved is JPJ, not Jacoby Myers, and that's only because of the relationships Jacoby already has in this offense. Taking him away would leave a very young receiver group scrambling, and the Raiders simply are not in a position to do that unless they were blown away with a significant draft pick in return. JPJ, on the other hand, is a high-level talent on the offensive line who hasn't been given the trust he probably deserves. He looks like a Pro Bowl caliber center, but the way this staff has treated him, the way they've openly questioned his role, you can't help but wonder if there's something behind the scenes that we don't know about. Trade value talk keeps popping up, and it makes sense because if you have a player with legit upside but you're not using him, the rest of the league is going to ask questions. If another team offered a third-round pick for JPJ, I think the Raiders would at least consider it, maybe even package something larger if they wanted a star back in return. But let's be clear, this is a player who should be anchoring the line, not sitting in limbo while less effective players continue to get pushed around. That's why fans are losing patience, because they see the obvious talent, and they can't figure out why the coaches are being so stubborn. Right now, confidence in this offensive line is dangerously low. Without JPJ, some people would rate their belief in the group as barely a 1 on a scale from 1 to 10, and honestly, it's hard to disagree. With him in the lineup, maybe that confidence creeps up to a 4, but that's still far from where a playoff contender needs to be. You look at Dylan Parham, Jordan Meredith, DJ Glaze, these guys are getting bullied, and the line is soft at the point of attack. Raiders fans have been pleading for someone who brings some nasty, someone who can set the tone, and JPJ is exactly that type of player. That's why it stings even more to see him sidelined for reasons that don't make sense. Naturally, when the offensive line keeps failing, the heat turns to the coaching staff. People are already speculating about who could be on the chopping block at the end of the season. Brennan Carroll's name is the loudest one floating around because his unit looks unprepared and disorganized. And the pressure is only going to build as the Raiders face teams like Chicago, who have one of the weaker defensive fronts in the league. If the Raiders cannot look competent against them, how in the world are they supposed to handle Indianapolis, Tennessee, or Kansas City? The idea of stumbling into the bye week below 500 would be a nightmare, and fans are begging for this team to at least be 4-3 heading into that break. There's also regret around the draft. Some fans point to players like Armin Mayu, watching him dominate for another team, and wonder why the Raiders passed on him. Drafting Jenny was fine in theory, but doing that without reinforcing the line elsewhere, and even removing one of the best blockers on the roster, has left people questioning the decision-making upstairs. It's almost malpractice because it suggests the front office doesn't truly value the trenches, and for a team that has been bullied at the line of scrimmage for years, that is unacceptable. Raider Nation has always prided itself on toughness, and right now this roster doesn't show it in the places it matters most. Even with all of this frustration, some fans are still clinging to belief in Pete Carroll and what he can bring to the organization. But it's a shaky belief, because when Carroll speaks to the media, the answers feel defensive, even dismissive. His refusal to consider moving JPJ to center, despite all evidence pointing to that being the best fit, was delivered with a tone that came off more emotional than thoughtful. It reminds people of past coaches who acted like they always knew best ignoring stats, tape, and common sense. That stubborn streak has Raider Nation nervous because once you lose trust in the locker room, it's almost impossible to get it back. And that's why the questions keep coming, not just from media, but from fans themselves. Will this be the year that Pete finally adjusts? Or will he double down and let a talented young lineman like JPJ slip away? Will Jacoby Myers, a proven weapon, eventually be shopped if the team continues to slide? Can this coaching staff survive if the offense continues to sputter? Or are we already looking at another reset by the end of the season? These are the doubts circling the Raiders right now. And the only way to quiet them is to step onto the field and prove people wrong with actual performance, not just words in a press conference. At the same time, there are bright spots like Trey Tucker, who is flashing more and more each week. Defenses are paying extra attention to Jacoby and to Brock Bowers when he's healthy, and that has opened the door for Tucker to make an impact. He isn't the clear number one option yet, but the way he's trending, the confidence he's showing, it's giving fans at least a glimpse of what the future might look like if he keeps growing. And that's the kind of development this team desperately needs right now, because in the middle of all the chaos, young players have to step up and give the franchise something to build around. The upcoming stretch of games is critical. Raider Nation remembers the embarrassment the last time the team played at home, and nobody wants to see a repeat of that. This fan base deserves better, deserves to watch a team that carries itself with confidence and fights for every inch. The pressure is on, and the clock is ticking because this group cannot afford to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. All right, let's keep rolling because the questions just keep getting louder around this Raiders team, and honestly, the longer this drags out, the more divided the fan base feels. One of the biggest debates is whether JPJ eventually gets moved before the deadline or if he somehow sticks it out. Every time you watch the press conferences and hear the coaches dodge or give half-hearted explanations, it feels like they are hiding something. You wonder why Jackson Powers Johnson is the only offensive lineman fighting for a job, while others, who have clearly been worse, continue to get chances. And that is what makes so many fans say they would not even blame JPJ or his agent if they quietly looked around the league for a new home. Nobody wants to see talent wasted, especially when this offensive line is crying out for someone with his physicality and edge. What's frustrating is that the Raiders keep making excuses. They point to injuries, they mention concussions, they talk about development. But the truth is every single lineman on this roster has struggled, and yet JPJ is the one left in limbo. When you look around the rest of the unit, you see Glaze getting beaten, Meredith getting shoved backwards, Parham struggling to hold his ground. These are the kinds of issues that destroy drives and force the quarterback into impossible situations. So when the staff insists that Kappa is somehow the better option, it just does not add up. And the fans notice. They see the inconsistency, they see the lack of accountability, and that's why people are already predicting JPJ will not even finish his rookie contract in silver and black. Now, when you talk about confidence in the offensive line as a whole, it is at rock bottom. Some fans flat out said without JPJ, they are at a 1 out of 10 in terms of trust, and even with him, it only rises to a 4. That is not good enough. You cannot contend in the AFC West with that kind of weakness up front, not when you're staring down teams like Kansas City who thrive on exposing flaws in protection. That's why people are already circling Week 7 as a measuring stick game. If the Raiders look lost against the Chiefs, it is going to confirm the doubts, and it will fuel even more pressure for Carroll and his staff. Speaking of the staff, the calls for Brennan Carroll's job are already growing louder. Fans have been patient in the past, but the way this offense looks, patience is wearing thin. The Chicago matchup looms large because their defensive front has been among the worst in football. And if the Raiders cannot push them around, then who exactly are they supposed to push around? The line has to show something, even if just a glimpse of competence, because if it collapses again, the fire Brennan Carroll movement is only going to spread faster. And once that kind of momentum builds among the fan base, it is almost impossible to stop. On the brighter side, you do have pieces like Trey Tucker showing growth. He is not the first option yet, but the way defenses are shading coverage toward Jacoby and Brock Bowers has given him opportunities, and he has taken advantage. He is quicker, sharper in his routes, and showing he belongs. And in a year where negativity seems to overshadow everything, that small development is a welcome sight. You can tell the Raiders want to use him in the right ways, and for once, they're finding ways to maximize a young player instead of burying him. That has to continue because the Raiders desperately need young talent to step into real roles. But it's not just about one receiver stepping up, it is about a culture shift. Pete Carroll keeps saying they're still learning about this team, and that comment frustrates everyone because you cannot be 3 weeks into the season still acting like introductions are happening. These are professional athletes. This staff has been in place long enough, and there is no excuse for not knowing your personnel by now. That's what makes some of the answers sound hollow. It is not that Carroll does not have experience. It's that the answers feel like stalling rather than solutions. Raider Nation is too passionate and too smart to accept excuses without results. And then you look ahead at the schedule. You have Indianapolis, you have Tennessee, you have division games with the Chiefs. There's no soft spot here, no easy run to get right. If this line does not figure it out, if this staff keeps second-guessing itself, then the Raiders are going to get eaten alive. Fans want 4 wins by the bye week, and if they fall short of that, the conversations about trades, firings, and a full reset are only going to grow louder. Nobody wants another wasted season, but right now, the warning signs are flashing. There's also the Jacoby Myers conversation. If the Raiders completely fall apart, his name is going to show up in trade rumors because that is how this league works. Veterans on struggling teams become trade bait, and while nobody wants to see him moved, especially with so many young receivers still learning, the truth is if a team dangles a 3rd-round pick or more, the front office would at least have to listen. But moving him would send a brutal message to the locker room that the season is already lost, and that's the kind of move that tears at chemistry. So while JPJ might be more likely, Jacoby's name will keep popping up too. This is why Raider Nation is restless. It's not just about losing, it's about the way this team is losing. It's about being stubborn when change is needed, about ignoring obvious fixes, about talking like the season is still a preseason experiment. Fans see the talent on this roster. They see the wasted potential, and they want accountability. They want action, not excuses. And if the Raiders cannot deliver that soon, the calls for change are going to drown out everything else. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Las Vegas is buzzing with excitement as whispers swirl around Allegiant Stadium. The Raiders may have just pulled off one of the most jaw-dropping acquisitions in recent NFL history. According to sources close to the team, discussions are reportedly underway to bring star running back Derrick Henry to Sin City, a move that would send shockwaves through the league. While nothing has been officially confirmed, fans are already flooding social media with speculation, memes, and wild predictions about the impact of the potential signing. The thought of Henry donning silver and black is enough to make any football aficionado sit up and take notice. Known for his punishing runs and relentless physicality, Henry has been a cornerstone for the Titans, dominating defenses week after week. His combination of size, speed, and durability has made him one of the most feared backs in the NFL, and pairing him with the Raiders' offensive schemes could be a game-changer. Imagine the way defenses would have to adjust, knowing that one of the league's most unstoppable forces is barreling down the field in Las Vegas. Rumors suggest that the Raiders' front office has been quietly working behind the scenes to make this dream a reality, with multiple insider reports hinting at advanced negotiations. Some fans are already calling it a historic moment for the franchise, a bold statement that the Raiders are serious about returning to championship contention. Others are imagining the marketing possibilities. Derrick Henry merchandise flying off the shelves, sellout crowds, and a city that already thrives on spectacle suddenly experiencing a whole new level of football frenzy. Of course, skepticism remains. Contract negotiations, salary cap implications, and Henry's own preferences could all complicate matters. But in Las Vegas, where rumors quickly become headlines and fans thrive on excitement, the mere possibility is enough to keep the city buzzing late into the night. Whether it's fantasy football leagues or bar debates, Everyone seems to have an opinion, and most of them involve visions of Henry breaking tackles, piling up yards, and carrying the Raiders into a new era of dominance. As the NFL offseason unfolds, all eyes will be on the Raiders. Will this tantalizing rumor materialize, or is it just another piece of tantalizing football gossip? For now, fans are living in the moment, dreaming of what could be, and one thing is certain. The thought of Derrick Henry in Las Vegas has the entire football world talking. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts and comments. See you in the next video.